guys, welcome to the ESTHER Show. So on this show, I'm going to just be having unfiltered discussions with people. I'm going to be having your favorite guests, chopping it up. And what I really want is really comedy, real shit, real life, unfiltered, opinions out, non-judgmental stuff. That is what I want this show to be about. And today, I thought the best way to kick it off, as you all probably know about the situation with myself and Just Pearly Things, a lot of people have been talking about this. So I thought, you know what? Why don't I just discuss it? And a perfect opportunity should be my first episode. Why not? So here we are. I've got some guests with me today as well. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Oh, I hate this part. I'm Soraya. What else do I say?
What do you do?
What do I do?
With Soraya, just give a little brief description.
So I do podcasts, I do comedy sometimes. I'm not that funny. And yeah, I do radio hosting as well. But
girl, don't put yourself down. Sorry, she's a BBC radio presenter. She's literally dumbing it down. We're not going to have that on this. Okay, what else? Do you want to say anything else?
Yeah, I love Pearl.
We're going to get into that. And then what about you?
Yeah. Name's Eddie, podcaster, one half of the Domino Effect. You know, some of you might know me, some of you don't. You know, we're here, innit?
Oh yeah, I'm Eddie's best friend, by the way. Just thought I'll add that.
We had a bit of passover, but we're making up slowly.
I know, we're going to get into that. Guys, you don't want to see the scenes before we started. I had to really calm down the room. And what about you?
I'm Terence, I'm from South London. I do a bit of marketing and advertising, basically.
Okay. And guys, do you know the reason I brought this guest? Because they all have some form of association with Pearl. So Soraya here has actually been on Pearl's show as well. And Eddie here actually used to recruit for Pearl. And Terence here also has been a guest on Pearl's podcast. So I thought it would be the best perfect opportunity to discuss the whole situation that happened with Pearl with the guest as well. So we can get different perspectives, because I know some people have different perspective about this. So let's get into it. So in terms of, I just want to get background, just give the audience more context really. With you, Soraya, how did you get onto Pearl's show?
I was asked by Eddie if I would come on his friend's show that talks about relationships.
Okay. And how did that go?
So I didn't actually know who Pearl is or what the podcast is. I went there, it was a fancy apartment. I said, oh, this is nice. You know, very hospitable. She had drinks out. Obviously, I don't drink. Yeah. Otherwise, she would have dragged me even more. But yeah, it was a very interesting experience.
How did the whole thing, how did it make you feel? How, like, actually being in the podcast, what were your emotions?
See, so I've done podcasts, I've done your podcast, I've done podcasts with
yeah.
other people. I feel like for me, the reason I do podcasts is to share stories, experiences. Everyone learns a little bit. I just felt like her podcast, she had an agenda to, I didn't realise she had like this following that is weird. It's a weird following that they're quite obsessive with her and quite bigoted.
Yeah.
They're going to come for me now because I used a key trigger word, bigoted.
I know.
The reason I say bigoted is because I feel like there's a lot of things that Pearl, Auntie Jenny, other guests say that they don't ever sort of like, because they contradict each other or themselves even, and no one ever picks it up in the comments. No one ever says, oh wait, Auntie Jenny said this on one episode and she's saying this now, like, you know. And I feel like that's why I say they're quite bigoted, is because they don't know how to think. Like, you can like someone and then also disapprove of what they're saying or something. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I see.
So yeah, anyway, I found the experience quite strange. I feel it's really strange that people pay to say really horrible comments.
Yeah.
I found that really, because I think no alpha male would actually pay $10 to have to troll people online. I think that's very...
Yes, it's a bit of a weird situation. But in terms of context as well, so me and Soraya have actually gone on to Eddie's podcast, Domino Effect, where it was actually not planned. We didn't plan. It was actually Eddie's fault. Eddie started asking about our experience, and then they started filming, and then before you know it, it's an episode.
Everything is Eddie's fault, apparently.
No, it was because we were meant to talk about interfaith relationships.
Yeah, interfaith and relationships. So we weren't even supposed
instead
to speak about Pearl. You said it was good content.
It was good content.
Yeah.
I just thought, let me ask a question. 'Cause obviously, you both had your experiences. Both said your experiences are fairly negative.
Okay.
So I just thought, why not just start the conversation by saying, yo, how did you lot feel? And then boom, the conversation went
left. Yeah, of course. Right. Okay, Terence. Now, so can you please talk about how you got into Pearl's podcast and how you felt about it as well?
I got on a podcast because she, when she newly started, she sent me a DM. And she asked me if I'd be interested, and I was like, yeah, why not? How I felt doing it, I think...
so Pearl directly messaged you?
Yeah.
Okay, so no recruiter. That's interesting, because the girls, I was recruited by Eddie. You were recruited by Eddie.
This wasn't recruiting, this was her reaching out to people.
Okay.
Being on the show initially, I think I enjoyed it, and the topics were you actually stuck on to the point to the topics, but as it evolved and as it grew, it became sort of I wouldn't say strictly an ambush, but there was more of an agenda, but it didn't really personally affect me. Pearl and I have clashed a little bit on certain points, but I wouldn't really say I've had a negative experience with Pearl. I just have an opinion on seeing the growth of it and what I approve of or disapprove of, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So can you just go into this agenda? What agenda do you believe is being pushed, or whatever you think Pearl's doing?
It's the manosphere, and I think that's just where she's at. That's the content she's creating. So
what is this content?
It's basically it's a thing called the red pill.
Okay.
It's basically in support of men and sort of not necessarily against women, but against delusional women. Let me put it that way. So the Andrew Tates or the Kevin Samuels of the podcast world. I think that's basically what she's decided to base her show about. So I feel like people going on that show, going on any podcast, you should do research.
Do you know why I think that's nonsense? Because I'm not going to lie. I think, me personally, I'm way more of a woman who caters to men. For example, I come from a culture, I cater heavily to a man. It's a very patriarchal society I come from. And even my faith, we have traditional roles as a man, as woman, and like what we do. If she had discussed things with me properly, she probably would have seen I'm probably more... I wouldn't say I'm a pick-me, because obviously this country, they like to put names. I just believe we have different roles, different, things to do. And if that's what her gender was, then she would have embraced that in me. Whereas I feel like she attacked me because maybe it's because she thought maybe her clout followers will come love me and start following me and all the hard work she did. Because honestly, and
pushing this narrative.
It must be that, because honestly, I swear to God, there was nothing that I said that was outrageous, that was even anti-men. I'm not even anti-men at all.
Yeah.
But she pushed this like modern woman.
Yeah,
I'm more traditional than her.
That's a red pill. I don't feel like it's necessarily a thing where you have to say something outrageous. You just you have to say something that falls within the realms of the types of women she goes after. So, for example, single women.
But she's a single woman.
No, single mothers or divorcees or
How can you?
Hold on. So, I don't think you said anything particularly outrageous. Like I said, it's about the words you use and in what context. So obviously we addressed what red pill is. Red pill is essentially a voice for men, because men feel disenfranchised. They feel like they no longer have a voice in the public world, and women are dominating the conversation.
This is new for me. I didn't know there was a red pill, by the way.
Really?
I didn't know.
I know about the red.
With that said, making a comment, for example, the Moroccan men, that plays directly into the red pill. So by saying your experience of your time in Morocco was that, men they harassed you. That was your personal experience. However, the way it was conveyed was that most, or if not all, Moroccan men behave a particular type of way. Now that feeds straight into the red pill.
Yeah,
and that's a reason to attack you for that reason.
And again, see, this is where I feel like she takes things out of context. We were talking about sexual abuse that is done to women, and I was making a point that as being someone from the UK and US, we have certain privileges because we've got laws to protect us as women now, which is very recent as well. It's not old laws, it's very recent laws. You go to parts of Asia and Africa, even South America, there isn't that much protection. Life for women there is very different. So we can talk all we want now and say, we don't need these laws to protect us. We don't know what life is without it. We still have women now, like Sabina Nessa, may God rest her soul, who was just hit point blank in her head and killed. That doesn't happen to men often, right? But it happened to her.
I don't know.
No,
Men die more than women, so.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying how many times does a stranger man physically attack another man?
All the time.
No.
The difference is
I'm
the
talking about
perpetrators of the crime are the common denominator in the conversation is men, and you're not wrong in saying that.
I'm talking about men, not clued up men that are obviously not well. They attack people. They're going to choose
Men and women.
They're going to choose the most vulnerable who are weaker because they can. Because if someone tried smashing your head in, I'm not going to lie, most men probably can't take you on, right?
I've been stabbed before. Repeatedly.
No, I'm not talking about gangs or gang related. I'm talking about.
We're going to make the point. We need to address everything.
Okay, but I'm
not saying that.
I'm talking about not the gang. I'm not talking about the gang culture or anything.
We're talking about violence towards people. Now, I will agree that
stranger violence.
The common denominator in this conversation is men are the perpetrators of this violence. Women are on the receiving end, but men are also on the receiving end.
I'm not denying that
at
all. Wallahi, I'm not denying that. I don't deny that at all. But what I'm saying is we can't also ignore the fact that women are weaker, right? So women are weaker. Women get attacked. They could get raped. Men, the chance of a woman raping a man in public is a lot less, right, than a man raping a woman. Of course. So it makes women, I'm not going to lie, I think one of the worst things that can happen to women is rape and being physically assaulted or killed, right? 100%. The chance of that happen to a man is a lot less, right? I'm not going to bring up...
Which part? Because there's the rape element.
I'm talking about a woman. I'm talking about a woman attacking a man.
Okay.
Physically
cool.
or raping him.
Okay, guys, we don't want to keep going back and forth. Okay, because we need to move on to other topics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool,
so yeah. Anyway,
final words. Okay, go.
What I'm saying is, that was my point. Is that we are in a privileged country. We can make certain comments, but we can't say stuff like the Me Too movement hasn't helped push laws to protect women, because obviously even in the industry when it first started, a lot of men were abusing their position of power and doing things to women.
I agree
that was it. That was all my point was to her, but obviously she wanted to modern woman, Me Too's all man. That's not listen, men, you can approach me, tell me I'm beautiful, I would happily accept. I will tell you politely, it's not a problem.
No, I agree. I think the way you conveyed yourself there, you wouldn't have got dragged. But the way you conveyed yourself on the platform on that day didn't suggest those things, because you did make a point of saying, okay, when we made the point about men approaching you in the street and you made the point of saying Moroccan men, you was essentially saying that you being approached is a problem. But that's but me knowing Soraya personally is obviously not a problem. In fact, you love it. Like,
I don't mind that at all.
But how you use your words is very important.
And you know what? You came to a key point, Eddie. This is the point, right? This is amazing because when you're on Pearl's podcast, I feel like she likes to drag women into their masculine energy just so she can make content. We're having a nice discussion now. I'm not anxious. I'm not feeling like I have to under-explain or over-explain. You've given me energy. You've given me.
I'm gonna be masculine.
Let a girl
you've given me space to be able to express myself. You've rebutted, but then I've expressed myself further, and we can agree or disagree or whatever, and it's a healthy discussion. Her podcast space is not like that.
Yeah, I think that's important. You need to, when you have guests on your show, you need to allow them to express themselves. I think when you have a narrative, and that's what you were saying about, you feel that there's an agenda, and it's this red pill. It's this idea of trying to put women or single women down. So
I feel like
because
you say this agenda's a secret. It's not a secret. There's definitely a narrative and an agenda being pushed. That the way we're talking about it's like it's a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy.
No, like Pearl specifically. So when she brings a guest on, the agenda is
when I used to bring guests on.
Well, you as well, When you guys bring guests on, is to really try and humiliate single women rather than to have a discussion.
I would say that's what the agenda is, but that's where it ends up being. It's not.
Yeah, because that's the agenda. Of course, it's going to be like that.
We need to make it clear. So when I used to recruit for Pearl, this is how the recruitment went. We want two sides of the argument because we're discussing intergender dynamics, relationships between men and women, which means that people are going to have differing views about it, which means that someone's going to be on the receiving end and some people are going to agree with. That's just how the conversation goes.
But when you're so one-sided though.
So when you bring women who are raging feminists versus women who are more more traditional, they're gonna have disagreements. Now, Pearl puts herself on the more traditional side. Other women
Do you
are gonna
think
put
Pearl is
themselves
traditional?
more
Pearl's
on the
not
traditional
traditional.
side.
No, but
by
do you
the
think-
definition of what traditional is, no, she's not traditional.
She's not a traditional
virgin.
woman.
She's not married. She's not like again.
Can she cook?
No, she can make chicken. It's alright.
Why does she
Yeah.
have to go to
It's-
wife
it's-
school then? To learn how to cook.
Listen, wife school was a thing that your parents would have taught you. Just because
Exactly, but she had to go recently.
No, but there's nothing wrong with that.
No, but this is the thing. Is
That's a good thing.
we
That's not a
come from a
negative thing.
culture.
I'm not saying it's negative. I'm just
But
saying.
you're making it seem like it's a bad thing.
No,
Why does she have to go to
no,
wife
I'm
school?
saying she's now suddenly going to wife school. Why does she not know how to cook already?
Well,
But
why not-
it fits her narrative of what she wants to make money on,
Exactly.
right? It's not
And
something
it's
that's
no
innate
secret.
in her.
It's no
Whereas
secret.
whereas like the culture I'm brought up with, feminism, like not feminism, feminine energy is innate. It's built into us from a
Yeah.
young age. We're trained,
Which is why
to be.
I believe you'd be good on the show, because again, in striving to create that balance, you have you have a very traditional. In fact, your experience is so unique by having a polygynous household.
Yeah.
That you are even more valid than the stuff she says. However,
But because there's an agenda, you can't see her in a traditional light. Because she wants to paint her as this single woman who hates men, no matter what she says, she will push it. It will
to
go
that.
to that direction where it's like, well, so you're me too men. When she's actually saying,
No,
no,
but-
I love men.
but-
It's just some men are a bit weird.
no, but if we want to talk about, if we want to have a conversation about single parents, then you would fit into that category, which means that by having that conversation, you fit in, but you can still paint the narrative that benefits you. And it's the key thing. It's about painting the narrative. Pearl has her agenda. That's not hidden. So let's not make it seem like it's a secret. Pearl wants to expose the problems with modern day women, which I believe there is a lot of problems with modern day women. And that's fine. She can go and expose that. Now, when you want to come and proposition your argument, you can't allow yourself to be fed into a narrative that doesn't run with what you're trying to push. 100%. And which is what happened with you. The narrative wasn't supposed to be, I'm a single mother and my child is X, Y, and Z. It was meant to be, this is what I believe for men and women, but that you wasn't allowed to express that, which I understand.
Yeah.
But then what you should have done is take back the narrative to say, no, look, this is my viewpoint. Whatever you're trying to run with, I don't run with that.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen.
No, it didn't.
Yeah.
And like I said,
Okay,
it's that
guys,
space.
can we move on from this now? Right. So I want to go into you recruiting for her.
Talk to me.
So can you just speak more about this? Like, how did Pearl approach you? How did you start recruiting for her?
So similar to what's her name? Sorry,
Terrence.
Similar to Terrence. Quite early on. Obviously our content was Domino's doing quite well. So I think Sarah Garvey invited us on because he has a Tuesday show with Pearl. And I came on and she liked what I had to say about the conversation between gender dynamics. So at the time she was expanding and said, look, she wants to take away some of the responsibility from herself in terms of finding guests. And obviously I'm a people's person. So I'm quite good at talking to people and whatnot. So I'd be good for the role. So tried it out. I managed to get her the guest that she wanted. And yeah, I started working on the platform from there.
Okay. Because I do wonder, do you think she targets a certain manosphere of people? So the fact that she approached you, do you think there's a reason she approached you?
Of course, I'm good at talking to people and I'm a ladies' man.
Okay, do you not think it's more who you can target as well?
No.
Because obviously, I do believe she targets a certain group of women.
Why do you believe that?
Especially ethnic women.
Why do you believe that?
Because that's what you see. When you see her,
Why do you see that?
Power destroys feminists. It's
No, but
always
why-
an
why do-
ethnic
why do
woman
you-
behind that.
Why do you see that?
Why do I see that?
Why
Because
do
that's
you-
what she's putting out.
Because that's what I brought on the platform.
Exactly. That's my point. So I'm saying you're bringing that onto the platform.
Yeah.
Before she came to you, that was what she was doing anyways. But I was just I'm just wondering, do you think that you were targeted?
No,
No?
I was just good at what I did.
Okay. But it just seems
No,
that
now you're trying to spin a
No,
narrative.
because there's another
But I'm
guy.
telling you now.
Because I know you recruit for her, and I also know other people that recruit for her, and they all happen to be black. I just think it just seems a bit too.
You're trying to spin a narrative because, like I said.
Okay, why don't she have?
Okay, so let me look.
Sorry, Terrence wants to say
I
something.
get where she's coming from because a lot of my friends say the same thing, and initially I never really saw it. Do you know what I mean? As in she's targeting a black audience. I don't know if she is or if she isn't, but you can't. The evidence shows that there's a lot of black people.
You're missing an important question.
Yeah.
The question should be to me as the recruiter: what did she ask of you for people on the platform? everybody's running with the narrative. Oh, from the way it looks,
Yeah.
I was there, I did it. So why not ask me the question? What did Pearl ask of you? Yeah. Now, if you want the answer is nothing. She just wanted people who were on the feminist side and people who were on the traditional side, and that was it.
But the point.
But we're talking about the recruiting, because you don't have experience in recruiting, do you?
Of course I do. I used to
Did you approach her and say, "Listen, I've recruited before," but her just approaching you to say, "Oh, I need you to get people on the show." Do you not think that there's a bit of a like? It's like a thing that she's thought through to think, okay, he's gonna be perfect for getting the people I need.
The point is, look, if the agenda, if the narrative you're trying to push is correct, then that's assuming that I would bring black people naturally.
Yeah, because that's
what her point is.
That's what you're around, of course. That's literally my point.
That's why you have to ask me the question, because
and that's what you've done.
If you look at the people that my social group, yeah, obviously I come from ends, so I'm in and around black people. But if you look at me at uni, I was around everybody. If you look at me now, I'm around everyone. So when I was recruiting, I was getting paid to bring people on the show. I'm going to bring people who want to talk. Now, what tended to happen was that black people were just more open to speaking than white people. Even if you go on the platform, when white people are sat there versus black people sat there, it's the black people doing all the talking. So you can't then say, you can't run and then say, oh, Pearl's got an agenda. She recruited you because you're black and you must know black people. Ask the question. No one's
so do you
questions.
think it's possible that she targets black and ethnic people because we're more vocal?
She don't target them.
Wait, you just made a point to say the black people are the ones talking. So do you think it's because of the fact that we are quite vocal, we are quite expressive, do you think that's the reason she seems to want like black and ethnic women on her group?
Want black and ethnic women. It's not about
come on,
seems to want.
The facts is out there. That is the people that she seems to have on this.
Do the recruiting. I did. So you should be saying, did I want to bring black and ethnic people on? And the point is this: I didn't care who came on. I just want to bring people on, so I got paid. Plain and simple. Now, if black people are gonna come,
you better share that money with me, bro.
I know.
And do you know what's mad? Because
I remember it got
to the point where I was getting approached by people. Like, people would come to me in confidence because they see me quite a lot on the show and be like, "Yo, what's going on?" And then they will talk in confidence, like, "Yo, black people, this, black people." I said, "Brother, you know it's me bringing these people on." And it got to the point where, in my head, I'm thinking, black people already have a certain perception in the social space. Now, when I give black people an opportunity to speak, that's an opportunity for you to represent yourself in the right way. What often happens, you come and embarrass yourself. What did I say to you when when Andrew Tate was coming on? I said, Esther, you're going to be representing black women in this conversation, so represent yourself properly. That's an opportunity for you to change the perception of people in the public space. Now, if you don't do that, that's not my fault. Or her fault, in fact.
If you're going on a show with someone like Andrew Tate, who's well versed in that topic, you can't just expect a regular person who just has conversations.
Then don't sit down with the person.
No, I agree. But like that's where the division is. Like, you know, if you're bringing people who are knowledgeable on a particular topic and people who aren't, it's unbalanced.
But remember, remember the type of conversation we're having. We're not looking for industry professionals in relationships. Yeah. We're looking for the average person who has opinion on their experience, plain and simple. So it's not a point of, I don't need to bring the Andrew Tates or the anybody within the space of relationships who are professionals. That's not the point. The point is, what does the average person think about their experience with modern day relationships?
But do you know what the problem is? The problem is, like, her podcast is for what, Red Pill. It's not to actually dissect and say, actually, because I've said it on the podcast when I was there. I said, I'm brought up in a very Asian way, right? Very traditional Asian way. It was the British in me that was like, you know what, bun this, bun that, whatever. You know, like, it was like, why shall I tolerate this? Whereas my mum tolerated way more than we ever tolerated. And I was there, because that's the British side, the liberated Western liberal side. Yeah. And I said that, and I said I made a mistake by coming away from my roots and sort of adopting this mentality. And now I've deeped it and I realised, actually, I prefer the way my culture does things anyway. If I could go back, I'll probably have an arranged marriage. I'm not going to lie. I don't believe in this Western love that we were ambushed with, right? She twisted it to make it seem like, how can you... Like, because I must have said social media impacts you. When I was 16, 17, looking on social media, Instagram, oh yeah, I wanted a man to buy me flowers. Do I care about flowers? No. But because social media said it, it was almost like I wanted it. Auntie Jenny is then like, oh, why are you allowing social media to... I'm 16, 17, I'm impressionable, of course. Why am I not? I'm seeing footballers get hotel rooms.
No, you see, the thing is, the part I agree with the ladies that come on the podcast, Pearl definitely spins the narrative. There's no hiding that. That's the true element. Now, if I had taken accountability, what I could say is that I probably should have briefed people. But you see, but the problem is, use
that's what I mean. Him fell out. That's what I mean. Him fell out.
Thank you.
People don't understand the criteria for this role. So even when I did recruitment in my job when I first finished university, you withhold information in order to get to the end result. Now, often, if I told you exactly, if I'm recruiting you for a specific job and I want you to be hired by this job, I'm going to get paid 20 grand for you to fill this role. If I told you your manager's a dickhead, the likelihood is you're not going to go to the interview. So when I was recruiting, I tried different tactics. Now my initial tactic.
I was your friend.
No,
we spoke every
but wait.
day, like,
I'll
To be fair, I wasn't your friend, so I understand.
I'll adjust
but
that.
still,
I'll adjust that. The initial tactic for me was to tell people, hey, look, here's this massive platform, the Pearly Things platform. Do you want to come on? People then watch it and be like, oh, Lord, this is peak. That's what used to happen quite often with women. They'll be scared to voice their opinions because they don't feel intelligent enough to have that type of conversation. So then I switched tactic. I withheld some information. But then again, a similar thing. The type of people that I was getting wasn't the right type of people for the conversation. They weren't knowledgeable enough to have that conversation. So then what I did next was I took snippets of the show and I sent snippets to people. I said, oh, these are the type of conversations that we're having. And that worked. So I tried different tactics to get people in. Now, the point is, if everybody knew that was the Pearly Things show, then more people wouldn't come. I wouldn't get paid. I couldn't fulfill my job role.
I hear
but
that.
Again, this is the stuff people
but
are
you were
understanding.
technically withholding those information is basically deceiving people.
Not really. You didn't
because
ask.
people.
Most people didn't
That's
ask.
why-
No,
that's
no,
why it's
but-
called an ambush.
but
No,
It is an amber.
but you didn't ask.
Eddie.
Sorry, can Terrence just finish his point?
I'm telling you, like, I agree. I understand. The thing is, the whole thing is about understanding everybody's role. But if you know your role, you know it's an ambush, basically, because I know and you have to do what you have to do. That's just basically what it is. You feel me? And yeah, you can say people could have asked, but it's like somebody it's like Jordan Peterson would never have a debate with somebody who's not on his level. You get what I'm trying to say? And he would never sort of withhold information and bring people on board, knowing he's smart, let's just say, quote unquote, smarter than them, to talk down to them, basically. You know what I'm trying to say? But I'm not saying that's what you did, by the way, but call it a spade.
Call a spade. I'm not too fast, but you see what it is. I don't feel like Pearl was saying, because for me, like, Pearl's been on podcasts with people.
Yeah.
Destiny as one example, Hafiz is another example, who, when challenged, destroyed her. I respect
Hafiz. I agree with
Hafiz
him a lot.
is on point.
I like Destiny.
The point is, that these conversations we're having about the red pill space and intergender dynamics is very simple conversations. It doesn't take an expert to have an opinion on these topics. The point is that what you call an ambush is just people who are just so unknowledgeable or so that lack such a level of consciousness that it's easy to have these conversations. Because again, I did a similar thing on Domino. I'd bring people on, whether or not you have knowledge or not, I have a conversation with you. It just turns out that you just don't think correctly. And all Pearl did was expose what most people look like and think in
But
society.
I think
It's
it
plain and
really
simple.
is about knowledge. I think we have to go back to this agenda thing, because at the end of the day, if you don't know that you're walking into a red pill movement podcast, you don't
It's a
realize that.
relationship podcast.
No, it's not. It's a red pill.
Which is a relationship.
Let's make it very clear. It's red
I
pill.
agree with what you're saying, but you're walking into a manosphere with a red pill topic. The reason why I'm saying that is because the podcast, the shows would have a topic,
Which everybody knew in advance.
yeah, but then it would deviate from the topic and it will be focused on red pill, and that
Exactly.
that conversation can be on one person's personal life choices.
That's exactly what happened with
Which
me.
is what I like. So that's why I'm saying watching its growth. Initially, it was just everybody talking and sharing experiences, which I think is great. But then it would be a topic, and then if one person says a keyword, Pearl would jump on that.
That's
You
it.
know what I'm trying to
That
say?
is
Which
it.
is cool because that's her platform. If that's what she wants to do, it's fine. But everybody just needs to know.
Yeah,
that.
just let
And
people
the
know. I think
reason-
once people know, they can prepare themselves to be like, okay, it's going to be quite heated. Or even if it's not heated, at least I know what I'm expecting. I know that they're going to talk about single women. They're going to try and kind of belittle women in some sense. So let me know.
So let me hear your experience. You went on 3 times.
Wait. No. Before we move on, I want to finish it off with you.
Go on.
So why did you stop recruiting for her?
She just wanted to go in a different direction. So it just got to the stage where the balance, like, she didn't want the framework of feminist versus traditional. She just wanted all feminists. And obviously, I just didn't have the capacity to sit there. I was still working a full-time job and I run my own podcast. So it just got to a stage where I can't sit down and vet everybody that comes into the show because not everybody there's only so much you can do on Instagram. When I ask you, what's your opinions? Some people will tell me that I'm a feminist and come on and be traditional. Or people they come on, see the camera and get scared. They don't want to start voicing their opinions the way that they should.
Do you know how sad that is for someone to feel like, and this is why I feel like it's sad that some podcasts do this, because for me, again, podcasts should be a different thing. It should be about exchanging experiences, not pushing an agenda.
I agree with that.
I think it's so sad that she wants to bring feminists on so she can target them, belittle them, shame them, whatever, then brand her, and send her viral clips. When she knows her audience, majority want to see that. I get it, it's for money. I get it, but it's just damaging to society because why are we constantly having these gender wars?
See, I think there's a balance here, and I get what you're saying. First of all, I'll say this, the reason I respect Pearl is because her business acumen is on point. Now, she has a number of things that she does that guarantee that she's going to be successful in her ventures when it comes to money.
But it's damaging society.
Secondly, there were arguments against feminism that I completely agree with. So certain conversations and some of the delusions that women have, I can't say that it's damaging because some women need to be woken up to the reality. Plain and simple.
That's why I went on in the first place, because a lot of the topics I agreed with. A lot of things that she would say I agreed with.
Yeah.
Which is why it was encouraging to go on there, because that aspect of it is to educate the women who do think like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what's crazy? If me and Andrew Tate sat side by side, me and him can have a progressive conversation because we share probably 90% of our mindset is the same. Yeah. And also he's very respectful. Whether he agrees with you or not, he can tell you in a respectful way. He can be abrupt, but he can tell you in a very educated, respectful way. Pearl will sit there and say, shut up. She will sit there and she'll degrade you and she'll push.
Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No. So that was my point. My point was like, there's a way of handling. Like she can be a host. I feel like again, if she was an impartial host, fair enough. Have two sides, let them battle it out and be impartial. But she literally gets people on. Here's a trigger word, whatever. Targets them and ambushes them.
But Soraya, I get what you're saying, and that's how I'd be. Again, so you've been on Domino. We're welcoming. We treat people that way. I'd like to hope anyway. But I think you're projecting what you expect onto what someone else is trying to produce. Yeah. And that's not fair.
That's why I had an issue with you, Eddie, right? Because again, I felt like I was a friend to you. You told me about this. You said you've got someone who has a relationship podcast. That's all you gave me. They're going to talk about cheating. I thought, okay, I don't mind. I make jokes about my cheating stories when my ex cheated on me. Do you get what I mean? I thought, okay, yeah, it's a bit of banter. Why not? And we will discuss it. Cool. If you're getting paid, you should have thought about me as a friend. Whatever your money is, whether you lose that money or not, you should realize where Soraya is, where Pearl is. They're not the same.
No, but this
we're not the same.
This is what we need to iron out.
We're not the same.
This is what we need to iron out. So just to be clear, my rationale.
Sorry, can it be your last point?
My
as
last
well?
point. My rationale for
We're
bringing people on was again to strive for balance. Now we've said it a number of times that Soraya has opinions that are similar to Pearl's opinions, plain and simple. Therefore, my rationale for bringing you on was not for you to take the heat. The heat was for the feminists. The heat went for you.
But so I didn't feel
I don't feel the need.
There was a trigger word.
But not just that. But I didn't feel the need to have to brief someone that should be on her side because the people that are often on her side never got the heat of it.
But I should know that there is a side, right? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
For example,
you didn't brief me either.
I didn't.
To be
You
fair,
was meant to hold heat.
I think you're down with the agenda.
You
I'm
was
not
meant to
gonna
hold
lie.
heat.
I think you're down with the agenda. I'm not gonna lie. I know you're not trying to just admit it. I think you know the agenda. That's why you changed your strategy. You know that people won't willingly.
I said that before.
That's what I mean. So you're down with the agenda, and that's why you didn't brief me. So I think you should take accountability and just say.
I did.
Because it is moral. It's the idea of morality at the end of the day.
It is. But Esther,
That's a
I told you
stretch.
not to go back on the next time. Why did you go back second and third time?
So now we're gonna
And
move on
third
to that. So okay.
Down with the agenda.
So now the agenda. So now before we move on to the next bit, so I'm gonna give some context in regards to me and Pearl's relationship. So the first time I went on was because Eddie basically ambushed me. And I go on this podcast, and obviously I'm very, like, the podcast I run is very, very unfiltered, non-judgmental. So when I got there, I was a bit like, whoa, what's going on? I didn't even know about the red pill movement. So when I got there, I was just very just, I just felt like it was just too heated for me.
It was great content.
And then when we were done, I blocked Pearl. I was like, you know what? Never again. I'm never gonna do it. That was it. That was done. And then obviously we went on Domino Effect when we then discussed about basically my experience and Saraya's experience. So once that happened, obviously Pearl, we had a little back and forth on social media, but that was it. I blocked her. That was it. That was done. And then I get a phone call from Denalva. Denalva's like, listen, Pearl really wants to get hold of you. She really wants you on a podcast with Andrew Tate. I was like, what?
And you're going to get flued out.
Listen, and then all the perks were coming in. It was like, oh, you're going to get flown out to Dubai for a couple of days, accommodation paid, flights paid, everything paid, and you're going to obviously be on a podcast with Andrew Tate. So I was like,
Modern women.
I was thinking about it. I was like, okay, do you know what? I don't really want to go back on that podcast because I do know the direction that it takes, and that's not really my style. However, as a presenter, I should really learn the skills to be able to sit in the same room with someone that I don't agree with and be able to still express my point of view as long as it's respectful, right? So I was like, it took me like a day to even think about it. I spoke to my friends, even like people in the industry. I was like, do you think I should do it? And people were like, do you know what? I think you should, because, and also it's Andrew Tate, you know? Like, even if it, like, you don't agree with certain things he does have a certain, in society, people do know him and a lot of people do respect him. So, you know what? It will give you the skills that you need, and it's actually quite a good opportunity. So I thought, you know what? Let me do it. And you know what? The experience was it was actually all right. You know, Andrew Tate is a respectful man. We disagreed with each other. However, it was respectfully disagreeing with each other. You know, it got heated, but it wasn't any like insults or anything. It was just modern women this, modern women that. And I'm like, well, men are bums. Do you know what I mean? It was very just like back and forth. And you know what? That experience actually was quite good. Even me and Pearl, bro, we had a pizza, we were drinking, and there was Brittany Renner, Denalva, all of us. We had a nice chat. We were even talking about our personal life. And we left that day on a positive note. So I was like, do you know what? Maybe it's not too bad. Because, you know, I felt a bit respected because you've gone out your way. I blocked you. You got my friend to contact me. You did the work. So you must have some level of respect for me. And also, the show actually was okay. So I was like, maybe it's not that bad. But I did think I still wouldn't be going regularly. It's not like something that I'll be going regularly. But then, so Andrew Tate is done. You know, me and Pearl, we don't really speak anyways. It was just the podcast. So now she then reaches out to me. She's now saying, actually, I have to make this clear. At first, she told me that she would like me to come on to Michael King Rich's podcast. So there was a bit of a deception there. And she said, Destiny's in town. I'd like you to be on a podcast with Destiny. I actually watched some of Destiny's stuff. I like him. Me and him have like similar opinions anyways. And I was thinking, you know what? The last podcast with Andrew Tate, it was actually all right. Like, it wasn't really, me and her really didn't have any quiff. It was just me and Auntie Jenny. Like, we just, literally, we even spoke about the whole disrespectful antics that she does have, because I do believe she does become disrespectful to people that she thinks are beneath her. And even then, she was just like, we have to agree to disagree. She doesn't think she's disrespectful. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So when she tells me about coming on to King Rich's podcast, I was like, should I go? And I was like, you know what? It's King Rich's. His podcast is not that bad, actually. He's like a road guy, innit? Like, he's very like, he has banter. He does talk down on women, but he's quite reasonable. So I was like, Destiny's there as well. We could do this. And Destiny is on my side. We can actually have a balanced conversation. And then, literally, like, it was like a day before, she was like, oh, I've decided it's going to be on my podcast. I'm going to host it. Oh, obviously, now I'm kind of already locked in as well. Like, I've already decided I'm going to do it. So I'm like, do you know what? what's the worst that could happen? Andrew Tate wasn't that bad. Like, it was actually all right. We were respectful to each other. So I spoke to my friends about it. They were just like, do you know what? Just see how it goes. I was worried because I do know sometimes things can get a bit heated. But I was like, you know what? I need this skill. Like, I need to develop that skill to be in the same room with people I disagree with. So I decided to do it. So this, obviously, now I made that decision. And now, obviously, we went on the podcast. So this is the bit where it gets heated. I want to actually play you guys the video so you guys can actually see before the whole incident. So for you guys that don't know, Pearl actually kicked me off that podcast, the one with Destiny. She got angry and then she was like, Esther, get the fuck out of my studio. But I'm going to play you like before it got to that situation. Because I want to see you guys' reaction as well.
When you say before, what do you mean? Like,
So before it got to the stage where I got kicked out, obviously there was a lot of context leading to that.
yeah.
So I just wanted to show you guys, get you guys' opinion as well. Because it's like, just to give us a reaction, really.
So in that respect, I agree with you that men are not listened to at all in a lot of areas. To the point where I feel like there's going to be no men left in academia other than like engineering and sciences. There's nobody's going to be wanting to study literature because what we're talking about is it's just degrading them in a way that is it's just terrible.
Can I go to one of your classes with you?
Oh my gosh.
Do you not? Can I come?
Why do you
Can I
think
come?
society?
ask.
Why do you think
Can
society
I?
is not listening to men? The richest, most successful in the world are men. The people that make decisions, the leaders are men.
She's
going to extremes.
Esther, stop.
I'm talking. So as soon as I start talking, Esther. This is what's happened the whole podcast. As soon as I'm responding to someone else, she doesn't like what I say. She's immediately butts in. Esther. Right, okay. So let's
It's going to extremes.
Esther, stop, Esther.
See, like, look at the way she's saying it. Esther, like I'm a little kid. Stop. But yeah, keep going.
Esther, listen to me, okay, for a second.
Go on.
So it's a small percentage of men, though. What percent of men are in those roles?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
That's like saying that-
90, like it's at least like 90-something% that are in that leadership role. So
And another point I want to make as well, because Pearl basically says that the reason that this all happened is because I was over-talking people. As you can see, everyone's over-talking each other. Pearl's over-talking me, I'm over-talking her. It's a heated debate. You know, everyone's trying to get their point across. And you can see it visually, we're all over-talking each other.
But that's like
men.
You listen to a small percentage of men.
That is not a small percentage.
What percent?
People in leadership.
Esther, stop cutting me off.
And then when she doesn't like it, she's like, Esther, stop cutting me off. Again, to try and patronize me, make me look like I'm the one antagonizing the situation, right? Okay, let's just keep going.
I go. Okay. What percent of men are in those leadership positions? What percent of men are in those positions?
Well, in terms of ratio, it's about 90-something% to women.
No, I'm saying what percent of men out of 100 men you meet, what percent of men are in positions of power?
That's not the point.
Okay,
the point
it actually is the point.
It's not the
It
point.
actually is the point.
Just because you don't like the question, you have to answer the question. What percent of men out of 100?
Because the question is how many men in position of power, what is the ratio between men and women? Majority is men.
Yeah.
It's not the majority of the population of men
Exactly.
is in the power. No, it is a minority of men, but they're the minority leading society.
Yeah.
Right?
But she's obviously got her agenda she wants to push
But this is what, when I say, like, her followers should pick up on that. Because what she said, what she's done there is you're trying to manipulate it to make it seem like there's a minority men in power and they're the ones we're listening to, so we're listening to minority men and not majority of men, right?
Yeah.
No,
Thank you. But wait.
Huh?
Sorry, can we just finish the video? I'm going to get you guys'
Listening to
opinion
men
after.
more, right?
Question. You have to answer the question. What percent of men out of 100 men, what percent of men are in those positions?
But that's not the point.
No, answer the
because
question.
She's trying to say that we don't listen to men.
Because when we say we don't listen to men, by and large, it's saying we don't listen to men as a whole. There's a small percentage of men that are in power. Yes, and oftentimes
Not
they
a small
And you can see that we don't listen
In
to
the
you.
parliament,
Esther,
most
what? Let's take
the parliament. Let's take the parliament.
But this is a place of power.
Okay,
Exactly.
out of every 100 men you meet on the street, what percent of those men are in parliament?
No, but what I'm trying to say is,
can you
we're talking about
Esther,
we're talking about
Esther,
listening.
Esther,
We're talking about listening. You're changing the topic.
Esther, no,
you keep changing the topic.
Esther, it's the same topic. I'm
It's
asking you,
not.
answer
We're
the
talking about listening.
If you answer the question, you can get to it.
Esther,
Just answer the question, you'll get to it.
I'm not, because I think she's trying to revert the conversation.
Esther, answer the question. If you don't want
What
to
is
answer the
that?
question, you can
If
leave.
you don't want to answer the question, you can leave. What is this? It's a podcast. If I don't want to answer your question, you can't force me. It's like me asking you a question. Why did you stop recruiting for for Pearl? And you're like, I don't want to answer it. And I'm like, well, if you don't want to answer it, you can leave. That's called control. That's called you're trying to paint this narrative. Again, an agenda. Now you think that you can control what people say. No, you can't. You're a host. Does not mean that you can tell people what to say and not to say. But
Do you know why I feel like I have issues with podcasts or conversations like this? Is because, like I said, I come from an Asian culture, Asian household. Men in my culture dominate conversations still, dominate positions of power, dominate everything. It's still very So in my household, my mother's house, it's not the women that will be talking, it's the men. So what she's saying for me wouldn't resonate because I come from a society where majority men are heard and women aren't.
No, yeah.
If that culture in her culture is different, that's her culture. But if she was to ask me that,
But in the West, though. So
but my household, I don't deal with what West people do. I deal with my household. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, but you live in the Western country. Like,
No, but
I
it does. No.
understand
But my the people that I deal with 24/7 is my family. Where do I integrate? When I go to work, majority of my work friends are African or Asian, and they come from similar backgrounds to me. I don't deal with white English people as much.
You deal with the structures and the systems that they put in place. So,
But
you
that's
go
still
into the shop,
male-dominated.
You go into the bank.
But that's still male dominated.
Again, I think we're missing the point. What she means
She's
by
trying
male-dominated.
she's trying to say majority of men in the streets, the public, are not heard. They're not listened to. Their voices aren't heard.
So the point is, average men aren't heard or listened to.
Yeah.
When she talks about positions of power, she's talking about elite power.
Right.
So which is a minority. That's not the majority of men. So you have a minority of men who control the narrative for everybody. So she's not saying I think what you're trying to convey is that obviously there's more men in positions of power when you're talking about smaller levels of power.
Okay.
When we're talking about real, and that's why she made the
Real men,
example.
okay, fine.
That's why she made the example of
Now-
she asked Esther, well, how many men are in many people in parliament?
Now let's go to average men.
Go on.
In your household, what voices are heard the loudest? The men or the women?
Again, African,
Your pops, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. My house, it's the men. Esther, in your household, whose
Yeah, of
voices are
course
heard
it's
the
the
most?
men.
So even if we were to answer that from our perspective, it's men.
yeah.
But I come from a nuclear household. Now, the majority, again, if we're talking about society by and large, we're not talking about individual experience.
No,
Because you're
no,
right.
no.
If you want to bring individual experience, you're completely correct. But if we're talking
haven't-
holistically,
even English friends of mine, even in English households, it's the male presence that makes them.
This is one contextual aspect of the conversation. Now, if you want to take it to the courts, if you want to take it to the legal system, you want to take it to jail, it's a whole different conversation. You want to take
100%, and I don't agree with that. I've had a family member whose wife lied domestic violence because she knows that this country allow that behavior, and she ran off because she wants to get a British passport, lied on him, claimed rape and all sorts, and yeah, he had to go through.
So the context is important.
But that's again your structure of your society. You can't. It's not in my culture to do that. It's this country. It's the laws that
the
this
West,
country has
which
made.
is what we're discussing.
Right. And
Yeah.
there should be repercussions. For example, if a woman claims rape and then says actually it wasn't rape, there should be certain things to
But
make.
there's not, which is the West,
And
which is the
that's-
discussion we're
But
having.
that's something that it's not women. It's the structure of.
Which is a small fraction of men who dictate that to everybody.
But it's
but what I'm
not
saying-
though.
You get what I'm saying?
Can I just make a point? Because obviously that's what Pearl was trying to say, right? She was trying to say on average, we don't listen to men. However, okay, if we have like most people in authority and leadership are men, how can it be possible that on average we're not listening to men?
Do you know
Because
why?
the people that are filtering, because it's a stage thing. You don't just go straight into
Do you know why?
leadership. please let me finish. You don't just go straight into leadership. You actually have to do the work, right? So how is it possible that on average we're not listening to men when most people in leadership are men?
Do you know why?
It has to be that
on
average we are listening to men.
Do you know why?
It just doesn't make sense.
Go on, say your answer.
I got the answer, and I think this is why this is what Andrew Tate is trying to explain to people. And this is where I agree with him. I come from where my religion and where my culture is. We have traditional roles. This movement that's happening in the West now pushes against God's plan, like just say what God wants, or even our culture. But it makes, for example, women shouldn't be able to get away with this. Women shouldn't be doing things that are now emasculating men. Do you get what I mean?
Of course.
But this country is pushing, for example, like there's the LGBTQ movement that's pushed far quicker than any other movement. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like racism still exists. So many other factors still are still issues. But LGBTQ, now we have to use pronouns and mixed toilets. Like these, and for example, my mum, who because of her faith can't show her hair in front of a man, she needs a only woman, not identifies as women, but only born women. Why is it that her opinion is not respected or her views? Do you get what I mean? So this movement that's happening in the West, even though it's men in power, the movement itself goes against traditional roles. Do you get what I mean? So this is when Andrew Tate says the Matrix and blah blah. It's that. And again, it's a West problem, and this is why men in the West
not only
are
that,
having issues like this.
You're right, but not only that. So Esther made the example of people. Let's say a CEO of a company. Now he runs the company, and that's the position of power. If a woman comes and accuses that CEO tomorrow, does his power mean anything, or is the accusation going to ruin him?
Depends where he's in, what country he's in.
No, so I'm saying in the West. We're talking about the West. We're talking about the West. So you could have a lady that works as a cleaner say that the CEO falsely did something. His power doesn't mean anything. That's the voice that she's talking about. That's the power imbalance that she's referring to. That's the point that you're missing.
But again, now it's on to the state for them to balance it out. If a woman falsely makes...
That's not what we're discussing.
No, because it's based on evidence.
Yeah.
If I say Eddie's hit me, if there's no physical mark, there's no CCTV, most times that case is dismissed.
But what happens in reality?
No, that is the reality. Majority of cases get dismissed.
Yeah, okay, no. So,
minority might run. Majority, the police have to drop.
But even so, even if you miss out the legal aspect, now if you went to social media and said Eddie hit me, what happens?
So can we just make the last point just because I'm trying to manage time as well? So
what happens? What happens is that I get convicted by public opinion, and I'm finished. That's the voice that she's talking about.
No, I hear
so
that, but
power doesn't matter in this
after the
context.
Johnny Depp thing,
Okay,
and what's
this
her
is the
name?
last thing as well.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
After that Johnny Depp and that trial with
It was a major win for men.
yeah, exactly, and it shows that some
rare.
women are maliciously lying.
It's rare. That's why it was such a big win, because it's rare. It's rare that happens.
But also, I feel like not a lot of women. Again, I'm using these terms. I personally would never lie on a man. Majority women that I know would never. And when I say majority, I'll say 100% of my friends in my, and maybe it's my circle that I run with, would never feel the need to lie on a man.
I can talk about my anecdotal experiences
Exactly.
of people in my estate where girls have done mad things. People
Okay,
have found
guys, we're
Get
going to
me?
move on now.
So,
Okay, great. So it looks like it's just to agree to disagree. So then the next bit is basically the kicking out bit. I'm going to start here. So he starts talking about African...
The wrong deep, like, do you know what I'm saying? I don't really understand why she left.
Caribbeans do that a lot to Africans, though. They think that they're better than Africans because they came
I'm
very much
not
the
gonna say
inbred
anything, but there's a lot of tension in that respect. But I just feel like obviously, bruh, at the end of the day, if you're really gonna take that as like, oh yeah, I'm gonna leave, I mean, that's up to you, innit? And I think, and anyone watching, anyone that's ever watched a video with me, or we do the podcast with the girls, I call everyone bro. Everybody, bro. It's not especially being disrespectful to anyone.
I don't think you meant it like that, and I don't know. We're just gonna move on.
I mean, it is what it is.
But I think you should try and listen to people, though.
See, I'm talking again.
Let's not relitigate the whole thing.
I'm trying to tell him maybe that situation didn't need to escalate. So I'm saying maybe just try and listen when people are talking, right? Again, as soon as I start speaking, Esther,
you need to listen. You need to listen, okay?
Esther, you need to listen. Like, am I a kid? Like, why do you feel the need to keep saying that? Esther. Bro, everyone's talking. Why are you not cutting off everyone? It's because you don't like the stuff I'm saying. Right.
So we're gonna close out the show. So any final thoughts?
She says final thoughts.
And you can plug in your social media where they can find you.
She gave everyone 30 seconds final thoughts, right?
And what's my final thoughts? Yeah. Maybe I should stop calling people bro, but you know, it's just the way I speak. It's not me trying to especially be disrespectful. If you take it disrespectfully, you know, sorry, innit? Like, but that's just how I speak, innit? Don't take it as a deep thing. I don't think I deserve to get sliced up for it, but you know, that's what some people think, but it's cool, innit?
Good luck on the streets tonight.
Yeah.
Well done. I'm proud of you.
See, you actually listened to what I said, because at the end of the day, it's all about listening to each other, you know?
Proud of you.
Thank you.
Okay, Destiny.
Yeah, big ups to Pearl for hosting this great show. You can find me at youtube.com/Destiny. That's all I got.
Pearl, stop saying Esther. You need to listen. It actually is quite disrespectful.
See, I didn't even speak for 5 seconds. As soon as I started speaking, interject straight away.
It's disrespectful.
Stop doing that.
Everything's disrespectful these days.
But it is.
It's disrespectful.
Jesus Christ.
Esther,
Wow.
it's disrespectful to overtalk a host on someone else's
If
show.
I'm like, Pearl, I'm talking. You need to listen.
Esther, because you talk.
But Pearl, I'm talking. It's my time to talk. It's my.
And then what I was doing there is showing her what she's doing. So I'm like, now look at what you're doing. Exactly. I'm actually showing you in live. This is exactly what you're doing.
Talk.
How does that feel?
You talk the whole Esther.
How does that feel?
Esther, okay.
Pearl, but it's my turn. It's my turn to speak.
Okay, I'm gonna give you no time. I'm gonna give you no time. I'm gonna give you no time. All right, your turn. Go. Your turn. Okay, then get.
Stop.
Esther, go. Esther.
Maybe we didn't all survive.
Yeah, maybe we didn't.
Stop. Then get out. Okay. Then get out. I'm so tired. Esther. Then get out. Then Esther, I don't care. Esther. Because you were being rude. Esther, go. Get
The amount of time she says this girl is obsessed with saying my name. Esther. Bro, I know my name's Esther.
You know what it is? I think, I don't know if you guys have seen Kanye West losing his temper on DJ Sway. You haven't seen it?
I don't think so.
So basically, him and Sway are friends, and Sway's asking him about a sensitive topic to him, and he loses his mind. But the context behind that is he was previously on the Breakfast Club, and they were grilling him, right? And that was like an hour and a half long show, and he was just frustrated.
Oh, you're about to make the exact same point that was already in my mind. But go on, speak your stuff, bro.
I feel like basically what's happening there is it's
a build-up.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a build-up of everything that happened with the previous girl.
Yeah.
Right? That's basically what's led to this.
Not only that, the show's 2 hours long.
Yeah.
And
you had a lot to say.
Yeah.
So it's not just like you're showing a clip. There was much more before that. That's the end of 2 hours.
And it's not. I don't know whether she has anything personal against. This is just me giving like my own observation of the situation, right? It's a personal experience for you because you're on the receiving end of it.
Exactly.
Right? And it hurts for you. It's triggering for you. I understand that. But it was a build-up, right? And through the show, you guys would have been interacting anyway on that level. And she would be getting frustrated. That's why I said it didn't need to happen.
she's getting frustrated, and so am I, because you're cutting me off every time I try to make a point. Wait, let me just finish. Every time I'm trying to make a point, I'm 5 seconds in, you start to interject. I'm talking to someone else. Again, I hear Esther. Bro, let me speak. Yeah. You brought me on as a guest to speak. It's like I brought you guys as guests, and you start speaking. I'm like, Eddie. Bro, that is annoying.
But let me ask you one question. When they first came in, what were the house rules?
Don't overtalk.
So what you're trying to do now is you're trying to come on someone else's platform and dictate how they should maneuver. Now, if you don't like it, don't be there. Plain and simple. But what you tried to do was force your opinion on how someone else should run their show, and that's wrong. You can't do that. You can't.
Yeah, but you can't have a rule that you don't follow yourself. No, you don't want people to overtalk, but you're overtalking people.
She's a host, right? I wouldn't say you're wrong because you're approaching it from a personal perspective, and you're looking at morality, whereas she's just looking at this is my show, these are the rules. Yeah. Doesn't matter what we feel about the morality of the situation. She's laid down the house rules, and if it's not being followed, she can say get out. and she doesn't have to be fair. She, you know
I think I'm more of a moral person. Like I wouldn't bring someone on my show.
She's not moral. Like, she can be moral in her personal life, but on the show, there are the rules, and she can stick to it. You know what I'm trying to, that doesn't mean in her personal life she's immoral or she doesn't. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, it's just in that she doesn't run her podcast with morality, basically.
Exactly. It's not even just morality. Like for me, the reason I would never go back, because she did that to me when I was making a point. She cut me and she said, "You're having too much airtime or mic time or whatever." And obviously, I saw it as that's disrespectful. And for me, when you've crossed that boundary, I'm not going to come back in that space to allow you to disrespect me. So, like Eddie said, that you going back to that platform multiple times, you're only allowing her, and as she's building up this rapport with you over these 3 episodes, she's going to continue disrespecting you, knowing you're going to keep coming back.
But not only that, you also have your own experience, so you're also annoyed at the fact, because that you saying what she said there, you're not saying that because that was how she treated you on that particular show. You're saying that because you've been on the show 3 times. So on 3 separate occasions, there's been times where you've obviously overcut each other. She's obviously frustrated, and you can see by her body language that she's just tired of you. Like she's literally just tired of you.
But I'm tired too. That's the thing. It's both ways. At the end of the day,
but it's not your platform.
That's not the point, because you invited me. I didn't. If it was like I asked you, bro, I blocked you. You still found my friend. You went to my personal life to try and get me back.
Doesn't matter.
And then even then, like you're lying to me to try and get me on. So I'm thinking you're doing the most. Are we? Okay. Right, okay.
I just want you to quickly talk about the stalking.
Sorry, just 1 second. Because we might have to do that in the next episode, to be honest. Because we need to just look through.
Get out. Get the Esther, get out. Esther, get out. Get out of my apartment. Get out. Get out. No, get out. Get out.
I'm not gonna do that. Anywho.
Esther, no, your mic is muted. Get the fuck out of my apartment. Get out. Get out. You're going to be disrespectful the whole goddamn show. Get out. No. Yeah, I'll call security. I'll literally call security.
Because that's very rude.
No, can you call security? No, because you are being rude. Because you are over-talking me. Call security. Get her out.
Anyway, so you guys can follow me at SophieJoyX on Instagram. I'm going to be doing a lot more podcasts and political media stuff. And yeah, I hope to... this was a lot of fun. And yeah, can't wait to do more.
By security, she means concierge.
Yeah, she doesn't have security. It's a concierge for the building, not her room.
Okay.
A building that's not even allowed to enter the room.
Oh my God.
No, I want to.
No, it's fine.
I want to. No, because it's not fair. I'm so sorry. You don't invite me into your house and then try to disrespect me by kicking me out. I am sorry. I'm going to have my voice. No, so if we're going to be here, security, we're all going to talk. We're not going to do that. That is very disrespectful. And that is that.
You can put it.
No, that's the ultimate disrespect. How dare you invite me to your house and then try to kick me out because I'm trying to tell you how I feel about how you're treating me.
You're just embarrassing yourself.
I'm not embarrassing myself. It's just so rude. It really is.
I'm actually trying to help you out here. Just allow it.
But can I just say one last thing?
That was funny. That's so that I was like, oh
man. You're saying it already. You said that, like, let's just like.
Okay.
Hey, headphones.
That's why I said it was unfortunate that it happened, because it happened at the end. Like, you made it through to the end, and it was just bad timing on your part. To basically, you took that chance to have a open one-on-one conversation with her to advise her basically, but she's tired. You're all tired. It's been 2 hours. You get what I'm trying to say.
But again, who are you trying to advise on my platform? I didn't bring you here to advise me. I'm just thinking to myself, like, how would I respond in that situation? I would have. It's exactly the same.
I mean, can I just say my point on this? Yeah. So obviously, when this whole thing has now happened, obviously the way my perspective, you've interject every time I've tried to make a point. You cut me off. You're consistently saying my name. I can't make a point because you don't like what I say. So instead of just listening to me, you'll just cut me off, right? So obviously now it's gone to the stage where now you're kicking me out. What was going through my head, because a lot of people say, why didn't you leave straight away, right? What was going through my head is, okay, do you know what she said before? You should just leave. So I'm thinking, maybe she doesn't actually mean it. So I'm thinking, maybe it's a thing that we'll just talk over and it will just move on. And that's why I even stayed silent, to be like, okay, this situation is going to calm down. I was trying to be like, okay, do you know what? Maybe it is a heated conversation. I know I did my part. She did her part. We were both in the wrong. And that's what I will say, right? So that's what I was just contemplating. And then this girl continues to say, and it's when she said, get the fuck out of my house. That's when I was like, okay, now this is real. Because I'm sorry. Yeah, you know what? Over talking, you say that it's her podcast. Fair enough. But at the end of the day, you can't have rules that you don't follow yourself. If you over talk people and you understand in a heated debate. If you understand, in a heated debate, people will over-talk each other. Destiny was over-talking. King Richie's was over-talking people. The only difference is you don't like the stuff I say. So you interject. Friggin' Michael, the whole way through, King Richie's was calling people bro. And she just lets him have his own little rant.
But you know this about Pearl. She won't ever speak up to a man. You know this.
Exactly.
But why would... That's what I'm saying. You're putting yourself in that position.
Yeah. No, but let me just finish. I need to just... Because I know the questions people are asking me. So this is what I'm going through in my head. I'm like, it is a personal thing. And now you've kicked me out. You've gone all this mile to get me on your podcast, to humiliate me. At this point, I'm sorry, I'm a Nigerian girl. When you've gone over the line to disrespect, I can't just leave peacefully now because, bro, this is a level of disrespect that it's like, bro, I'm not going to lie. That was the most peaceful way I could have left because I was contemplating dashing a drink in her face. I am not going to lie because now it's like there are no rules. You have now violated me on a personal level. So it's like you can't then expect me to sit there and just be like, all right, pal. No.
Do you know what I think?
Of course not.
I think you miss a lot of social cues because when I'm watching that conversation, I see points in the conversation where you could have avoided that. So the first one that I saw was when they were talking about Jamaica and Nigeria or Africa, yeah? Pearl said, or someone said, let's move on from this conversation. What did you then do? You brought it back.
No, King Richie's brought it back. No, King Richie's brought it back.
The show twice or three times.
You were clearly not listening because King Richie's then said, "Oh, do you know what? Yeah, it is just what it is. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. It is just what it is." Then I responded.
Then you responded.
But King Richie's already said something, and then I just said, "I think maybe if you listened, at the end of the day, I can also talk just like everyone's talking."
That was after she said, "Let's move on." That again, this is a social cue. If someone says, "Let's move on," and you've done it enough times in this conversation, she said, "Let's move on." Make your final point. Let's move on. We all moved on. You didn't do that. Pearl said, let's move on, and you started to interject to the conversation. Bearing in mind, there's all that fatigue from 2 hours of recording, plus all the previous conversations. She knows what you're like. I know what you're like. So it's like, it gets to a point where it's like, oh, not again. Like, let's just stop this now. Yeah. And by hearing your voice, oh, for fuck's sake, she's talking again.
But what about King Richie's?
King Richie's, if you actually look at that show, King Richie's didn't talk that much through the whole show. He didn't talk that much.
He's not antagonistic. That's not to say you are, right? But that's how she receives you. I'm not saying you're wrong. She's definitely
and that's why she brings you on the show.
Please, can you just finish?
As a host, she definitely shouldn't have handled it that way. That was, to me, that was a lack of professionalism. But at the end of the day, you have to look at all the factors that led into that on both parts. Like for her, that was probably the first time she's ever seen a guest do that, the previous lady. So she's already on edge the entire show. And her tolerance level is completely through the roof. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So I feel like on both parts, there are reasons why it went that way. Yeah. It's just, that's why, in my opinion, it didn't need to happen. Both on your end and her end. That wasn't the right time for you to interject and sort of give advice to her and how she should treat guests. But that also wasn't the right time for her to receive that sort of information. She just wanted to end the show. You know what I mean? And you made it to the end of the show. So it's just, I feel like it's unfortunate, basically. I don't feel like you should take it as a personal attack.
But do you think that she should have kicked me out in that situation?
It's not for me to say because it's heated. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like again, that's a 2 hour long conversation, and she probably finds your behavior grating. It's grating on her. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like,
so it's a personal thing. She doesn't like me, and
that
was to assert authority against me. It was a certain authority to say, you know what, I brought you here, I can kick you out. That's how I saw it.
I agree. That's definitely what it was to a degree. But again, everyone's got pent up anger in that situation.
Yeah.
Well, you and her have pent up anger, just like Eddie was saying. Your response to her was based on all your experiences with her and all the previous shows.
Yeah.
So you can't consider the things that's led you to be there without considering what's led her to be there.
Yeah, of course. You know what I mean? No, I do understand. And that's why I even thought, you know what, let me be silent, because it does seem clearly I'm obviously I'm heated as well. The way she's making me feel, I don't like it. But I also understand that she will be feeling heated as well. So I'm like, okay, if I just stay silent, we can calm the situation down and continue. But at that point, it was like, we're not coming back from it no more.
The only thing to say, that if I was in your situation, I'll just be like, you know what, I apologize, just give me a second. Do you know what I mean? And then everything can, even if you don't want to apologize, it's like, maybe I was out of line or whatever it is, to let that person know you understand where they're coming from, understand how your behavior is making them.
But that only comes with respect, though. I think if you respect me, like throughout the show, or maybe even in that moment, I think I would actually think, you know what, I'm clearly upsetting someone that clearly respects me. But it's like, you don't respect me. You're talking down on me the whole way through. You're saying you need to learn to listen. You know what I mean? You're talking to me like a baby. Like at that point, I don't hold you respect anymore. It's like, let it go the way it needs to go, because you're not giving me respect. I'm not going to give you respect. That's what it was. Sorry, can Soraya make a point?
Sorry. Basically, before Pearl's podcast, I've never ever looked into podcasts, like researching behind people's podcasts and stuff. I've not done many podcasts. It was the first time that I came off something and I said, "Rah, I should have looked and researched into it." Then I spoke to my friends and they even said, yeah, before they do things, they research. And I've learned that for myself. After Pearl's podcast, people have approached me and I've said, this doesn't resonate with me. I don't want to make content that's controversial. I don't need to make viral, especially for the wrong things. I don't want to say or do things because someone's aggravated me and it's gone viral for the wrong reasons. So all I'll say to you is just, you don't think it's respectful there, don't go back. Honestly, and I think you've put yourself in that position 3 times. I would never go back because the way she's handled it.
Sorry, we're going to do the final thoughts. Yeah. Okay. I completely understand. And just in terms of my final thoughts, I actually take accountability. I shouldn't have gone on that podcast. And do you know what I did think about it? And I think I was just naive in the situation to think, you know what? She does have a level of respect for me, because even the Andrew Tate, it was good. We had a personal conversation. So I was like, it can't be that bad. I didn't foresee that she will actually do that to me, like kick me out. I would have never imagined Pearl doing that. So in my head, I was like, Andrew Tate, it was respectful, it can't be bad. So that's what led me to go on. And Destiny, it's a balanced conversation. Destiny and I have the same opinion. So I'm like, if she's going to have a go at me, she's going to have a go at Destiny, right? So I was just thinking, it can't be that bad. But I take accountability. I shouldn't have gone on that podcast because I know that it does get me in a heated mood, and I don't really like that. And I actually want to say as well to other people out there, please, if you see anyone reach out to you talking about they're going to put you on a YouTube podcast with lots of followers, please know that it's Just Pearly Things. Just know that, because that's what she does. And know that you want to go into that situation. Research it. If that's what you want, then do it. If you don't, just say no. Don't be like me. No matter, even if it's Andrew Tate, even if it's the Queen, say no, because that's just not.
R.I.P.
Honestly,
R.I.P.
Sorry, R.I.P. to the Queen, innit? But whoever it is, even if you like that person, because that's what I fell for. The fact that I like Destiny. Even if you like that person, don't do it. It's just not the room to have a conversation like that. That's all I want to say. Any final thoughts?
No. My dog's at home. I need to go.
Okay. Oh, and in the next episode, because we didn't get to speak about it, there was actually another situation involving the concierge and involving alleged stalking, with some people making up stories. But we're going to go into that in the next episode. But guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Please, I want to hear your thoughts on this, because I'm learning as well, Like, in this industry that I'm going to make mistakes. And I feel like that was a mistake I made. And I'm happy to just listen to what people have to say. Any constructive criticism, I'm happy to take it on. So please leave your comments and come back for the next episode, guys. Peace. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.